got shot.
It was life and death.
Somebody's killed your son.
I think both sides have to come together.
When it comes to African-American men, we only get the mug shot.
You know, it's abnormal.
Was it really worth it?
You gotta be the tough guy.
Tim Jackson presents How to Kill a Black Man, available on Amazon Prime Direct. This is the No More OGs podcast. From controversial topics to creating financial freedom, we will talk to real people about real situations, providing real solutions. No celebrity endorsements, bringing you unfiltered discussions, dope interviews, and giving you the blueprint to create the culture that you will be proud of. So kick back, turn up the volume, and let's get to it. Here's your host, yours truly, Mr. Purpose on Demand, Mr. Retired at 37, Mr. Tim Jackson. What's going on? It's your man, Tim Jackson. This is the No More OGs podcast. I am your host, and I am so glad to be here today with today's guest. As always, you guys do me a favor, click the link below, get subscribed. Make sure you take some courses from the $9 Academy. You guys, I'm eliminating excuses. Everything that you're looking to learn that you were never taught. We're creating courses specifically for people like you who maybe you can't afford the big courses or maybe you just don't trust the big courses. So all the concepts that you struggle with, go to the $9 Academy, check it out. The courses are live. I have the How to Purchase Your First Property course. We got the Mindset course, and we have a few other ones dropping this week. But listen, I want to introduce someone to you. I had the opportunity to meet this guy maybe 2 years ago during the pandemic, man. I went to a brunch, and I met him and a few other people at the brunch. But, you know, somebody that I've watched, you know, from a distance for a while. You guys know how I do. I like to sit back, and when I meet people, I watch them to see, you know, if they are who they say they are, right? But I can honestly say, man, I admire your hustle, man, your consistency. You know, I was talking to my son the other day, and I was talking about the importance, the difference between, you know, discipline and desire, right? We might desire certain things, and all of us have the desire for things, but if you don't have the discipline for it, it's just not going to manifest, because some days you're going to wake up and you're not going to want to do it. So without further ado, I want to introduce to someone, present to others, Mr. Marlon Walls. What's good, my guy?
What's going on, Tim? Glad to have you. Glad that you have me on today, man.
Absolutely, man. You know, I'm on my speaking tour right now, so I just got back from Vegas, getting ready to go to Philly.
Yep.
Hadn't shot in about a week or two. I got about 3 or 4 more episodes I need to get edited and put out there. But man, it's always good to bring somebody onto the show that is actually what I call out there doing it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I met you a couple years ago at a brunch. And I was really, really impressed with how you and your business partner, you know, how you guys were really on purpose, and you and your father, you know, specifically as it related to the rental car business and the Turo business. Like every day I got on social media, I would see you talking about Turo. And here recently, you just had a viral video where you talking about how, you know, I think somebody stole one of your cars or something like that.
That video ended up getting a million views between TikTok and Instagram, man.
That's crazy, man. But what I like, though, is the consistency, because I work with a lot of people. This platform is for people who are generally trying to find a way. And the consistent theme is that you got to stick to what you're doing. There's going to be situations, there's going to be times where everything ain't working out for you the way you thought it was. And it's like a lot of people on social media, they only show you their wins. They don't show you their L's. And I feel like the reason that this platform has grown so much in such a short period of time is because we talk about the L's. We talk about what's actually happening out there. We're not trying to flex on nobody. We're not trying to make it seem like we're better than nobody. But that's one thing I like about you, man. So come on, tell my audience who you are, where you from, man.
Yep, so my name's Marlon Walls. I'm Deuce Walls on Instagram, all social media, Deuce Walls. But no, I was actually born in Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep, so me and my family was all born there. My family still littered to this day, besides my parents and my sisters. We all moved down here to Houston when I was in middle school.
Okay.
And so that was kind of a culture shock for me at first, because I was kind of just used to the environment up there. But really, I think that's probably the best decision my dad could have made for us, because his job moved us down here. But from that moment forward, like, I think I was able to be surrounded by different people, a different environment. Like, I'm able to learn, especially like when I got to meet my business partner, like, or as far as like, you know, Alex. I met him when I was a junior in like a junior high.
Yeah.
And we just kind of like had a good synergy ever since, but always like was motivating each other, and because we both had the same discipline aspect about both of us. I think that's something you said that you saw well, like this is years later. So even at that age, we were still the same way. Like we would just like always be competitive, trying to be the best at whatever we were doing. And so we kept that same mentality all throughout high school, and then going into college and everything afterwards. And then also as we got into actual real world when it came to business. So
No, that's cool. So did you guys go to college together too?
We did not, actually. So he went to UTSA. It was just like in San Antonio. I went to Stephen F. Austin. That was in Nacogdoches, Texas.
Okay, all right. And you play sports?
Yep. So I played football all throughout high school and college.
Oh, that's dope.
So played a 3-year starter at Stephen F. Austin, and student athlete. Actually had a 4.0 every single semester during my college career as well. So everybody looked at me like this larger than life figure in a way back when I was in college.
Well, you know what, man? It's funny because I like watching a lot of Kobe videos, right?
Big time.
And one thing that I like about Kobe was that he just didn't care what anyone thought about him. Like, he showed up. He always outperformed people. He showed up early. He stayed late. And, you know, everyone always tells a story about how, you know, man, I thought I got to practice early one day. And Kobe was already in the building, already soaking
drenched,
wet. You're
right,
drenched.
exactly.
And it's like, for some reason, we've come to the conclusion, or we have this perception that, you know, that's not realistic for everyone. And it actually is very realistic. Like, many cultures, you know, do that. You know, I had an opportunity to work for different cultures and in different capacities when I was in corporate. And I realized that different people just do things different. Like, if the mentality is to get up and work your ass off every day, then that's just what everyone does. And like, nobody complains, everybody gets it done. And then you see that a lot of different cultures are a lot more advanced than American cultures in some cases, because the work ethic is really strong. So talk about that. Like, you graduated college, you went into the real world, you were a student athlete. So is it safe to assume that you were on a scholarship when you were there?
Yeah, so I was. So thankfully, just from early on, I think in 7th grade, my dad actually told me to start doing push-ups and sit-ups every night. I think that kind of was inspired because he wanted to see me in football. But because that's one thing about moving to Texas. Football is king out here.
Oh, it is.
So going from Detroit to Houston, you quickly realize that if you're not playing football, then you kind of like an outcast.
You are.
And so my dad was like, man, you might just need to get bigger. So let's just start doing push-ups and sit-ups every single night before you go to bed. Like, he just told me just to start doing that. And my discipline, I always had like a disciplined mentality. So I started doing just that. I started doing 25 push-ups and sit-ups, or 2 sets of 25 every night before I went to bed. And then every single week I would add 1. I did that same routine from 7th grade through junior year of high school.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up doing 3 sets of 115 push-ups and sit-ups every night before I went to bed. And that kind of just manifested into like even how I look to this day. Like, it's gone away.
No, that's deep, man, because, you know, with that discipline, you have to be consistent and you have to add more, because the more you add on to the situation, the better you're going to be, more sharpened.
Yep.
And, you know, I saw that, you know, my question was going to be essentially like, you get out of college, you don't have any student loan debt.
Right.
You have certain options. You can go into the workforce, get you a good job, which I don't have any issues with people having a job whatsoever. I think when we talk about the 7 streams of income, people often leave out a job. Like, a job, a 9-to-5 job is actually a stream of income. And I made a lot of money working a 9-to-5 job, parlaying my business. But you got out of college, then what? Like, what was the first thing that came to your mind? Because now it's time to work. It's time to start, you know, bringing some bread to the table. Like, what was your thought process of getting into the field that you're in now?
So before I got into like what I'm doing right now, I actually started off as a mechanical engineer. So remember, I said 4.0 student, but I actually was in engineering physics at the time.
Okay.
So I was leaning towards mechanical engineering as like my field, like I wanted to go into. So as a student athlete, my athletic director, he said he had a son that lived in Maryland that was a mechanical engineer himself. Like, actually worked for a company called APL, Applied Physics Laboratory. Okay. And so he said that I could actually do an internship there after my junior year junior year of college. He said, go do an internship with them just to be able to gain some experience, just because I've been doing so much for the actual organization, like for SFA altogether. He said, we want to try to get back to you already. And so I was able to do an internship there, got some great experience, and they really loved my entire energy. They loved the actual, like, the work ethic that I had and everything. And so they said, come back here. Well, you're more than welcome to come back anytime you want to. And so I went back there to work full time afterwards, and did for 6 months. I was actually there before going to do a master's degree. But during those 6 months, I was very, very big on, I'm about to save up as much as I can, because that's actually when I learned a lot about the things I didn't know in life, because this is my first time experience working outside of that internship. Like, I never had any work experience because I always was doing football. Yeah. Once I got into the real world, I quickly realized I don't really know anything. So
that's interesting.
Like, the 2 weeks into my job experience, there's this thing you get called a paycheck. Didn't really get one of those before. So I'm looking through I'm always been like just money conscious. So I just want to see, like, what's my pay stub looking like? Because I got like a direct deposit. I'm like, oh man, this engineering check looking pretty nice. I can do this. So I get to work that same morning. I look at my pay stub and I'm looking through it. I'm like, hold on, whoa, hold on. There's a problem with this. There's a word called gross pay at the top. Mm-hmm. That number looks way bigger than the number that I got in my pay in my direct deposit. Yeah. So now I'm analyzing. Okay, there's gross pay. Now I see at the bottom, the very bottom says net pay. Yeah. That's what I got. And now I got to figure out what happened in between those two. There it is over here. And like this little section over here it has like Fed, state, OASD, like all these different words. I don't even know what these are called. So I'm like, yo, let me call my dad real quick. Cause these people right here stole my money. I don't know what this is going on right here.
It's funny. It's funny because first thing you said was you got the direct deposit. Like, oh snap, I got some bread. This is a nice thing. Then you start looking into it like, wait a minute. Something's missing.
So I hit up my dad and I'm like, man, I don't know what happened here, but somebody stole my money. Like I see all these different words or these different letters about the people that stole it. So like, what does this mean? Mm-hmm. He like, man, it's just taxes, bro. Yeah. So from that moment on, I literally just hung up the phone. So I'm like, if you ever saw like a movie where everything dims out around you and you just get the little center light, that was me at that moment. I'm like, so I was just this 4.0 student. Everybody in college saw me as this larger than life figure. I had all these different accolades, all these accomplishments and all that. 2 weeks into the real world, I get to learn how dumb I really am. How it really like how life really is. Really works, right? You know, the tax or like how ignorant that I've actually been kept from like what the world really is like. So from that moment on, I actually told the business partner about like this entire story. Mm-hmm. He mentioned, hey man, there's this book I read called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Mm-hmm. I need you to check that out because it tells you all about all the stuff you're talking about with taxes and just everything else that we don't learn in school. Mm-hmm. This is stuff that he talks about in this book. Okay. I hadn't read a book since 8th grade, but I read that book in 2 days. Yeah. Like just cover to cover, like the actual physical copy, no audio book. I'm just reading like, yo, this is life changing. So that was, like I said, 2 weeks into me being working that full-time job. This is January of 2018. Yeah. And so between January and July, I knew I was only going to be working for that time frame until I went back to grad school. But my goal from there was I wanted to be able to buy a house and to be able to actually do what's called it's called house hacking, mm-hmm. where I live in a portion of the house and rent out the remainder of it. That way I can start saving up my money that I'm making from my graduate assistant job when I get to grad school. Yeah. And I'm able to keep stacking up essentially and start owning rental property. That's what he was talking about in Rich Dad Poor Dad. So from that moment on, I was saving like 60 to 70% of my paychecks, every single check that I got from that first job that I had for the next 6 months. And so I was able to come out of pocket for the down payment, come out of pocket for the closing costs of my first official house as a grad student.
You bought that in Maryland or Texas?
So I actually moved to Indiana for grad school. So I've made the money in Maryland and I moved to Indiana for grad school. And I bought my first house out there. I actually bought it sight unseen. Like I never even saw the house because I had my realtor. I went out there a couple of times looking for houses, but I never could find one. I was looking for like a duplex or triplex. They didn't have a whole bunch of them, but I did say we can do a 4-bedroom house. And I can just rent out the bedrooms. Okay, and so that's what I ended up doing. So you hear about that a lot. Like a lot of people talk about the house hacking. I'm in real estate, of course, so I'm familiar with house hacking. But I rarely see black people do it. Like you see, rarely. I rarely. Well, just within the last couple of years, it's become more popular. Right. But I mean, essentially, I rarely see black people do it. Like when I downsized my life, maybe like around the end of 2010, 11. Like I put my house on the market and rented it out. I sold my car. And I ended up moving in with a roommate, and the roommate essentially had a huge house that he house hacked, for lack of better words. But it's like it started becoming real popular within the last 5 years. But even now, I still don't know a lot of people who actually do it. You often hear the stories about a person who did it, but I don't know anyone who's house hacking personally right now. Like, so what were your thoughts when you first started doing it? My thoughts were delayed gratification. Just those simple 2 words. Like, if I can do this for this short amount of time, I'm only in grad school for 2 years. Yeah. So for these 2 years while I'm fresh in my 20s, like I don't have a family, I don't have kids. This is the best time of my life to actually get myself financially prepared for the rest of my life. So my entire goal during this time is just stack up all the money that I can. That way, when I move back to Houston, when I'm done with grad school, I'm planning on moving back to Houston anyway. When I move back, I'm in a stable financial state, and I'm able to go move on to my next property in Houston and keep on doing it over and over again until I'm at the point where I want to be as far as financially, where where I can have enough rental properties altogether. That was my initial goal, was to just pretty much house hack every single year in a new location.
Really?
And so that was the initial goal. I ended up house hacking again when I got to Houston. The problem was it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take to find that property.
So let's talk about that, because you said you were where'd you go to college at? Your grad school?
Stephen F. Purdue.
Purdue. Okay,
for
so
grad school.
You would think that it would be harder to find a house in that part of Indiana, but it was actually harder to find a house in Houston. Did you sell that house, or you still have it?
So I sold the one that was in Indiana because I just said, I'm take the profit, and then I was moving over to the next one. Problem is that, like I said, it took a lot longer than I anticipated for it to find that next one, because I was looking for something in particular. This time, instead of looking for just a normal 4-bedroom, I wanted to be able to find a house that either like I said, duplex or triplex, or a house that had a back house, like a garage apartment style.
And that's not common in Texas.
It's few and far between.
So a lot of people call me. So like I get on a lot of podcasts and get on people's pages and stuff. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people on the East Coast, they often talk about, triplex, multifamily, there's people even in the South who talk about and preach multifamily, which I believe in multifamily. I understand the importance of it, especially 1 to 4 family, because you can get an FHA loan and put 3.5% down, live in one property and rent out the other ones, and essentially make up not only your portion of the mortgage, but you can have an income. Mm-hmm. But in Dallas, it's just not a ton of multifamily properties. And if there are, they're in areas that are sketchy, to say the least.
Exactly.
And I'm not talking about
I know exactly what you mean.
Super sketchy, shotgun style houses. You open the front door, you can see the back door. You got to have burglar bars on it. And some people aren't really to make that sacrifice, but also the way our properties are zoned here, as a former zoning commissioner, I can tell you that it's rare that you see a lot of neighborhoods where there's a conglomerate of 4-unit properties, or 1 to 4 family unit properties, where there's a duplex or a 4-plex or a triplex that's not already rented out. Mm-hmm. We actually sell them separately. Like I have a property now where it's a duplex, but
you said individual units. I had that multiple times when I was looking. The places that were like a decent area, they would be selling individual units. I'm like, man, I can't get what I'm looking. Like that's why it took so long, because I could not find that.
It's like buying 2 houses. It's like the whole point of getting a 4-plex or a 3-plex is that you're buying 3 houses, but you're only paying for 2, or you're paying for 1.5. In these cases, it's like buying 2 houses, because
so the numbers don't make sense.
It just don't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was my experience. So for a full year, I actually was staying with my parents when I first moved back to Houston. So at that point, I'm like, I better save everything. Yeah. Like if I don't even have a rent payment at this point, so I'm saving 80-90% of paychecks. I'm not spending on anything, because I know that once I find this place, I'm gonna have a strong financial foundation. Because my goal also when I moved back was that I'm not gonna be an engineer for too long. So
let's talk about that, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs who particularly are engineers, and they get into the field, and while the field makes great money, while the field provides a lot of stability, a lot of them hate it. And I'm not saying that they dislike it. I mean, they hate it, to the point to where it's like, I can't do this anymore. Like people either stay in it forever, or they only do it for 4 years and they're gone. Was that your experience?
Yeah, I did it for 1.
1 year.
I was there for 1 year, about a little over a year.
So did you get your master's in engineering too, or?
Yeah, the master's was in mechanical engineering.
So wait a minute, wait. So you spent 6 years of your life in college to become a real estate investor.
So I did the real estate. So I was transitioning. So at that point, I was trying to continue to buy house hacks. But my goal at this point in time, I think this is kind of around where we met each other too, was I was trying to figure out what business that I want to get into. Yeah. So when I first moved back to Houston, this is where I almost had entrepreneurial seizure in a way, where I was trying to figure out what business was going to be the right one. And I think at one point I had 10 different business ideas all at once that I was trying to pursue at the same time. I was trying to do real estate was one of them. Then I was trying to get into mobile homes, stock options, trying to build an app, trying to do t-shirt sales, podcasting, everything. Yeah. And it so happened I also bought a rental car too, because I think the foundation of this, because we were interviewing people on our podcast. Yeah,
that's how. So I met you at the brunch, and then I want to say I had to go to Charlotte. I was out of town when I did your interview. I was in a hotel, remember?
Right. Yeah.
I don't remember where I was. So we traveled so much during the pandemic. Like we were that couple, we were that family that was like, man, fuck all that. Like we ain't stopping. Man.
Life ain't stopping. But yeah, so we brought on all these different guests on our podcast, and they had all these different business ideas.
Yeah.
And so we're like, we never did any of this before. Like we never even tried doing this. So why not try this out too? Just add that because now we're thinking multiple streams of income. So we want to build up all our streams at one time. Like every single stream that we can think of, whether it's Amazon, whether, like I said, t-shirt sales, whether it's pest control, trucking, tow trucking, just do it all. Let's just start up everything. What I learned from that experience though is that you have multiple streams. For me, it wasn't multiple streams of income. What I learned for me is that it was multiple streams of work.
It was multiple jobs.
It was multiple streams.
And a lot of people, listen.
Yeah,
I'm one of those guys. Like I believe in real estate
for sure.
When people try to sell me, like, "Hey, come do this, come do that," I'm like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah,
like I believe in real estate. Like
exactly,
residential real estate has made me a lot of money. As an agent, as a broker, as an investor, as a flipper, as a buy and hold. And there's so many different aspects of real estate, and I don't think people understand how many different ways you can make money in real estate. So, like my streams of income all come from real estate.
That's
like
good.
I've tried trucking, I've tried everything.
Right.
I've tried so much stuff, selling insurance, everything. It just never made me money like real estate. Like it never gave me that guarantee. Like I know today, in 8 more days, I'm going to be able to collect rent and I'm going to be good. I was having a conversation this morning about a tenant that's getting ready to move out. I already have a tenant that's ready to move into this property. Like, and the property hasn't even been cleaned yet. It's like, I can't get that anywhere else. Not to knock anybody else's hustle, because we bring people on the show to show you different ways to make money, including Marlon. But I'm just, now the focus is commercial. Like my goal is to, liquidate my portfolio to purchase commercial, because now as a former zoning commissioner, I understand zoning. So I understand that there's a need for residential real estate leases because there's a shortage of houses here in Dallas. Unlike Houston actually put all their homeless people into apartment complexes, right?
Right.
But Dallas, we still have 70,000, people that don't have anywhere to go. So it's like, all right, what about some of these commercial spaces? Like, can I buy up some of these commercial spaces and convert them, or can I turn them into venue centers? Can I turn them into podcasting space? Like that's the lick now, because it's like less than 1,000,000% of black people own commercial real estate. Like we literally don't own any commercial real estate at all. Like just talk to your friends. Ask them, hey, you own commercial property? 100% of them are gonna probably say no. So, but that's a play in itself, Marlon.
And see, the thing about everything that you were just saying, the reason that you would struggle with doing something like trucking or something like that, or any other business, is because you haven't taken the time to become an expert in something else.
Yeah.
And that's not even a bad thing, but you are an expert in what you're an expert in. So you know the data, you know analytics, you understand how the market moves, you understand the like the disparity between like black ownership of commercial spaces. That's your niche. That's what you understand the most. That's what you have expertise in. So consequently, you're going to make a lot of money in things that you're an expert in.
Yeah.
If you don't take the time to become an expert in something, then you're not ever going to get to that point where you're able to reap the fruits of all that labor that you put in to get to that point.
Yeah.
Like for us, doing all those different businesses, we're starting each business individually at the same time. We haven't become an expert at anything. We're the jack of all trades, but master of none. Yeah. We haven't mastered it. That mastery is a whole thing in itself. If you haven't taken the time to master something, it's never going to produce you the fruit that you're expecting to like. You haven't put down enough seed to reap a harvest from that.
So why do you think people move around? Like, I think social media has put a lot of us in a space it's not realistic. Like,
right.
I go follow you. I follow a bunch of people. I go to your page. I see this thing that you're killing it in. Then I scroll up. I see my boy killing it in notary. Then I scroll up. I see my partner killing it in the cleaning business. I scroll up. I see my partner killing it in stock options. I scroll up and see my partner killing it in trucks. It's just like, well, damn, I got all these options, and so now I done bought all these courses. Right? And it's like I'm not applying anything that I'm learning, because I'm falling in love with the idea of being successful than actually being successful. And regardless of what you do, like, you can be successful in anything, but it's just if you're not putting any time into that craft, it's not gonna be successful. Like, can you speak to that?
So think about this. Why do you see a lot of like let's say people in junior high and high school jacking up threes from the half court line in basketball?
I mean, they just give them the shot, man. They let it air out, right?
The people that they see Damian Lillard, they see Steph Curry. They are trying to emulate what they see.
That's a fact.
The problem is that what they don't understand is that the people that they see have made this their craft. They've mastered this. They become an expert in this particular field. The people you see on social media, you say, I see my dude doing notaries. What else do you see him doing?
Nothing.
You go to him for notaries. When you see the guy in real estate, do you see them doing a whole bunch of other stuff or just doing real estate?
Just real estate.
When you see the person with the rental cars, you see them doing a whole bunch of other stuff or just the rental cars? So each one of these people, while they may be all these different business industries, they are focused on that one thing. So focusing in on one thing is the key. Like for anything to become great, you have to focus on it long enough. They're showing you the end result based off of years of work, though. Yeah. Listen to their story that they tell you. They ain't say I started this yesterday and I started making millions today. The next day, like they went through a journey. They had to figure things out. They had to build systems in place. They had to figure out, how can I get this to the point where it's producing fruit for me? Like that's why people are getting confused, because they're seeing the end result for everybody and they're trying to jump straight there rather than saying I need to pick one thing and then build up to where they're at.
Nah, that's deep. That's deep. And a lot of people don't get that. I think I struggled with that in my 20s, I just wanted to make money.
Right.
I knew I wanted to make money. I knew no matter what I did, I would be successful at it, because I just know me. And I had the confidence to be successful, but I found myself just kind of like treading water a lot of times because I didn't really focus in on one thing. And like I always credit people. I said, when I was like 28, 29 years old, was when I kind of had an epiphany, like, okay, real estate is where I need to be, like 100% real estate.
Yep.
I have a broker's license. If I'm going to be a real estate salesperson, then I need to be the best salesperson I can be. But as I started doing that, I realized, well, damn, I can go to a house, I can go sell a property for $200,000 and I get 3% of that. That's going to be a $6,000 check. Like that's the most that I'll ever make on that $200,000. And I went to a closing one time. I'll never forget. I went to a closing as an agent and saw my broker made and thought, damn, I need to be a broker. Then I went to a closing as a broker and saw what an investor made. I was like, oh shit, like I need to be an investor.
Yeah.
And all you gotta do is just put the money up and do your first flip or whatever. So like my brain began to evolve, but it's still evolving in the same space.
That's the key too right there, because you still have an understanding about how the business works. So like in the rental car business, you can rent cars, but at the same time, you can also be the guy who fixes the cars. Yeah. At the same time, you can be the person that sells the cars. Like there's all these different avenues inside of the same industry of ways to make money. You can be the detailer of the cars. You can be so all these different there's a lot of different people in this industry that service the same industry. So you don't have to necessarily just do the rental car business. You can do things that service the industry, or you can find other ways of making money that's not just by renting the car out itself. Yeah. But you're still in the same industry, or you can use these as alternative means of making money while you're still focusing on the main thing, because they service the same industry. That when you say multiple streams, it's not saying multiple different businesses. It can be multiple streams, but with the mainstream starting within there, starting it all up.
People don't talk about that enough. Like we think multiple streams of incomes is multiple industries. That's not what that means. That means that you can do something within a specific industry and you can get several streams. I mean, you think about the music industry, you don't have to be a rapper or a singer. You can be a distributor. You can be a producer. You can be a person that does artwork, the cover work. There's so much stuff you can do. We do this thing in our mentoring program. We do 20 ways to make $1 million. But we just pick different industries, and we literally teach our boys like 20 ways to make $1 million in this industry. But we pick sports because every boy wants to make it to the league, right? And so we said, all right, you go to a Cowboys game. Who is all eating at that Cowboys game? Okay, of course the players. We're not talking about the players. You know the owner's going to make some money. The groundskeepers are going to make money. The people that do security is going to make the money. The concessions people are going to make the money. The people that sell the apparel is going to make the money. The parking lot people are going to make money. Like a lot of these places, a lot of these venues don't even own their parking lots, believe it or not. Like it's just so many different things you can do. The camera crew is going to make money. The media people are going to make money. Like you can literally find 100 different things just to do at a football game
within an industry.
But we just teach our kids to go play. and listen, don't get me wrong. Like I respect the fact that you went to school on a full ride and that you parlayed that to get the degree that you wanted, and you parlayed that to get to where you want to be. But a lot of people don't think like you. You know that you're an anomaly. You know that most people and we say that we keep it real on here. Like specifically black men, like we're hustling. We're spending our entire lives to go out for the most hardest job in the world that you can possibly get.
Man, that's real.
And then only work that job for 3 years because the average life expectancy in an NFL. And I've been on TMZ with a client, a first round draft pick client. I understand, like, literally the life expectancy of that person is 3 years.
Hikey.
But that's not just with football. That's in basketball. That's even in baseball. Most people in baseball don't even get out the minor leagues. Like, I played baseball. That was my thing. It's in hockey. It's in every sport, any Olympic sport. But we have conditioned ourselves to think that we should just roll the dice and focus on one thing and put all of our eggs in that basket. And then when that doesn't materialize it creates this lack of, self-worth. And then, you become the dude at the barbershop. Not the barber. I got a lot of barbers that watch this. You know who I'm talking about, barbers. The dude that comes in the barbershop and sits down and just tells them old Al Bundy poke high stories. I scored 4 touchdowns in one game, and that's all you have to show for. Mm-hmm. You don't have anything to show for but those memories. Like, I mean, what have you seen that before? Like, you can be honest with you, man.
No, I think so. It's very systematic, in my opinion. So, not saying that the system is the cause of, but I think that because of how it already has been, it continues to perpetuate over and over, for generations and generations. How many black people do you say owned commercial real estate?
Less than 1,000,000%.
So that has a lot to do with it.
So you can go further than 1 million, but I stopped there.
So think about this. As a young, matter of fact, I'll answer another question. What percentage of the NFL is black?
From a standpoint of players or
players?
Owners? I would say at least 90%.
So as a young boy growing up, if you're thinking about what do I want to do or where do I see myself or where do I fit in at, you're trying to figure out where do people look like me that's doing different things. Like, so if I'm looking up and seeing what my options are, okay, I see rappers over here. Okay, I could possibly do that. They look like me in that field. I see people over here that's in the NFL. That sounds really good. That makes a lot of money too. Oh, there's drug dealers. Oh, I might consider that too. Oh, that's not legal. I don't want to end up in jail. These are the options that you're looking at. And so now if you say something like real estate, or if you say, like I would say for myself, engineer, how many engineers do I see as an example for me? You don't see
so many black ones.
Right. How many black engineers do I see? How many black lawyers do I see? How many black doctors do I see? Like, so now I'm trying to emulate what my goal right now is to, as a kid is to emulate whatever I see, or because that's where my belief is going to come from. It's from me seeing it first. Seeing is believing.
True.
Once I see it, now I can believe I can do it. Even though the numbers say that it's statistically way less of a chance that I'll make it for one, but then stay in it for long is a whole other statistic.
In sports?
Yeah, in sports.
Yeah. I always tell people it's harder to become. It's easier to become an attorney or an engineer,
right,
a doctor, a physicist than it is to get to lead. And a lot of people are like, what you talking about? Like, no, seriously.
That's because they see the numbers. Like, the numbers make it feel as though it's more possible. Yeah. Because you don't see the numbers in these other fields, but you don't, like, nobody highlights the numbers either. But like I said, you think it's 90% of the league is black. Like, hey, that's where I belong at, right?
Yeah.
So that's
you get there.
That's the exactly. That's the starter piece of it all, is understanding, like, these you only see these same 250 players.
Yeah.
Like, you're not seeing. Yeah. You're not gonna see 2 million of them. There's so many people in the U.S. But you get that false sense of reality that because there's so many of us in the leagues, that this is where there's the best chance for me to get.
And then you get like that fake hope, like, everyone looking at LeBron. Oh, he's in his 20th year. Like,
how many LeBrons are there?
Thank you. But if you said it out loud, then you hating, right? It's like, I oftentimes I've had several professional athlete clients, and many of them follow me on social media, and they're like, man, the shit you be saying is so true, bro. Like, but it's like, I made it, but if I get in front of a camera and said, well, I have a God-given gift and I'm just a little bit better than you, and that's just how it is. Like, do you know how pompous that comes off? Do you know how self-serving and self-centered? Like, I know a friend of my clients has played overseas for about as long as LeBron has played in the real world, and he's got a name overseas. Man. Like, people know him. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, he's that guy, right? He's been in the league just as long as LeBron. He's just been overseas, and a lot of people don't know him, right? Uh-huh. And it's like, but if he were to get in front of a camera and say, I have a special set of skills that I've worked on my entire life, and plus I have height, I have that God-given ability, your son is not going to make it. Dog, like, people would burn him at the stake. You know what I'm saying? Why are you shitting on my kid dreams, And it's like, we would put on events. at the recreation center, at a recreation center over here in Oak Cliff. Rent out the whole recreation center. First, we started off by renting out a room. And we're like, hey, it's right around some low-income apartments. Like, hey, y'all need to come. We're teaching people how to start business, yada, yada. The kids would never come. So then we start bringing food. A couple would trickle in. But then we noticed that they would be in the gym playing basketball while we were teaching class. So then we start buying the gym out. It's like, no, you can't hoop until this time. But if you want to come here and get this now, it was like pulling teeth trying to get our boys to show up to these events where we're teaching them.
It starts early, man.
Long-term sustainable goals where right outside they're putting on a football camp and said football player who made it to the league and did pretty well, he's going to show up and tell them just keep following your dreams. Just like, bro, teach them to keep following their dreams while also making sound financial economic decisions. Like if you're going to tell them to follow their dreams, introduce them to your accountant. Introduce them to your agent. Introduce them to the people that handle all your business because all they're seeing is you get out there on the field. They're not seeing all the politics and the bullshit that comes with it. And we buy into that dream a little bit too much. Like maybe I'm being cynical or not, but I just feel like that now we have access to information.
Yeah.
Now there's people like you and me who can show up at a school and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Like, here you go. And we can give like the red pill or the blue pill on the Matrix style. Yeah. But I think that people still choose, the fuck shit. Like they choose the dream over.
So that's what you're talking about is a matter of exposure because you see, just like when you're talking about social media, you see like all the glitz and the glamour. You see all the highlights that's posted out there. Same thing with the league. There's so many politics. There's so many things that go in with the league besides the actual game day. There's way more outside of there than there is on the game day itself.
It doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
If they don't like you,
right?
If you don't know how to play that game, do you know how many talented people from the hood never made it to the league because they just couldn't shut up or they didn't know they want to keep it too real? Like they give you that one or two people, those Allen Iversons or those I'll say like a John Wall, like somebody that's just super real, right? They'll give you that person so that you can still have belief that you can get here. But once you get there, man,
they shutting that stuff down, man.
Shit down because you're a liability to their business,
right? Like it's so, and I learned that from college first, because it starts in college. Like high school was one way, but college made that jump for me, and I realized I'm like, yo, if it's like this in college, NFL is ridiculous. Or like any league that's professional leagues is a whole different animal. Like it's nothing but business. Because college, I realized that it was business. High school was like this, bro. I'm here for the love of the team, right here.
Even more now with the NIL, right?
Right.
Even more so now, Marlon. In my neighborhood, like right behind me, there's a family. The son played in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget one day having a conversation with him. He came back. I'm not going to say who he is, what team he played for, because I'm not trying to put nobody out there like that. This ain't the shit on nobody. He was like, yeah, man, I used to play for this team. And, we looked up his numbers and stuff. Like, hey, he's a decent player. But he had attitude issues. Mm-hmm. He had, he was, for lack of better words, he was just too Hollywood. He thought he was better than people. He would come to meetings late. He made a really bad reputation of not being a pro. And I'll never forget, man, he's like, man, I'm really trying to work my way back in to the league right now. I think he was like selling insurance or doing something like that. And I was like, and I don't know why I said this. I've learned to shut my mouth. I said, yeah, man, a friend of mine I grew up with, he's an agent. You know what I'm saying? He's like, can you reach out to him for me? And I was like, why did I say that? So, because again, I understand the politics. So I did. I was a man of my word. Like I reached out to him. I even copied him in on the email. I blind copied it on the email because I didn't want to just give him information. And man, when I tell you my homeboy did not respond like to that email like at all, like didn't even text me.
Was he familiar with him?
Yes, he was familiar with him. Yes,
exactly.
And it's just like, no, man, like Buddy's a liability. Like Buddy don't show. He comes to practice late. He's always getting into it with coaches. He thinks he's that guy, and he's talented, but he be on that bullshit. And this is a business. Now you have to think about my job as an agent is to get you in front of sponsors. We make money based off of your sponsorships, based off of your exposure. It's not about your talent. You can be a person that's
I was finna say that
been hurt for 4 seasons and you can still be a spokesperson. Like think about how much money Johnny Manziel made.
It's not even about your talent. It's about your marketability.
Your marketability, man. And if your marketability, like I look at the John Morant situation, like I've been on the record saying like I think he can go down as one of the greatest point guards that ever played the game, but I don't think that he will because he's too into the nigga shit. Like he wants to be a street nigga so bad. You know what I'm saying? Like you come from a 2-parent household, you went to a private school, like why do we embrace that nigga shit? And it's like I say it specifically, the nigga shit, because, you know, there's a difference between black people out there doing their thing and really making a difference for their community and coming back and showing everybody and like making real money. And then there's people that want to be with that nigga shit. And it's like a lot of the kids that come from these situations, they gravitate towards that player. They won't look at what's that dude that played for Denver? The light-skinned dude, Denver Nuggets. What's that dude's name? Light-skinned dude. He hurt his knee when he first came to the league, but he bought his mom like a Ford.
Come on, I'm about to.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know the name, man.
I can't think of his name. Michael something, right? It's gonna come to us in a minute. But I remember he bought his mom like a Ford Flex. You know, like, you know, when he got into the league. And, you know, everybody was clowning him like, oh, man, why would you go out and buy your mom that car? You a millionaire now. And it's just like, why aren't we, you know, celebrating somebody that's being financially responsible? Like, you know, he doesn't know how long he's going to be in the league. He's getting his mom a car. He's taking care of his business. Like, why does he have to go out there and buy, you know, 15 gold chains and a bunch of business? Because then on the back end, we have countless stories of athletes getting millions of dollars, not having the mentality, not knowing the education, or as you say, the exposure of what to do with it, and then they go broke, and then we shit on them, right? We shit on an Antoine Walker who made hundreds of millions of dollars, and then he went broke. We shit on him, and it's like, well, why didn't we? The people around him benefited from him, though. I saw him at an event in Chicago recently, and I saw people murmuring and talking like, man, I remember Antoine Walker used to come around and, man, he would tip everybody $100 bills, and he was buying this, and he would buy up the club, and it's like people just took the money. It's like, well, damn, like, but then if y'all took the money from him, why y'all shitting on him then? That he's broke.
That's how it is, man, because people from the outside looking in, for one, they don't understand the business aspect of it all, and they don't understand how little. This is one thing I was very big on when I was first learning about all the financial aspect of everything, like with Rich Dad Poor Dad. Because you are good in one area doesn't make you good in another.
Bro, say it again.
Like, I think that's so important. Like, because you are an expert in one field does not make you an expert in everything else. Like, so because I made it to the league does not make me automatically financially responsible or understand how to operate my finances any better. So basically, just think about lottery winners. I can be given $1 million. I can be given $100 million. If I don't have any financial literacy about how to keep this money or how to make it grow, it's gonna be gone. I'm essentially becoming more of what I'm enabled to do more of what I already was doing.
So how do we make this normal? Like, you know, with me, I've been on this kick for over a decade. Like, hey, I remember when you could buy houses in South Dallas and East Dallas for $5,000 and $10,000, and I was telling people, go buy a house. This was 5-6 years ago. Hey, man, they got this house for sale in Oak Cliff. They got this house. You know, you're in Houston. They got this house for sale in Third Ward. Yep. Like, right by TXU, man. Like, buy the house, man. Like, oh, don't nobody want to live over there. Don't nobody want to live over there. Don't nobody want to live in South Dallas. No one's telling you to live over there, man. Just buy it. Hold it. We bought one property, man. We bought it for like 20 grand. We held it for 3 years, gutted it, did nothing to it, and it tripled in value in 3 years. Without doing anything to it. I have a cousin who lives in Third Ward over in that McGregor area in Houston. Yeah. You know, she was buying houses for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 back then, and people thought she was crazy. And it's like, look at her now. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Like, that area right now has completely turned around, and look who's holding all the cars. So, like, how do we make it normal? Like, at what point in the game do we? Let me back up. What do we do to make people realize the benefit of what it is that you and I talk about and what we're living? And then how do we convince people, like, to understand that the shit they chasing is bullshit? Because most of the shit is a lie.
I think the first thing is going to be the understanding for us is understanding we're not going to be one person can't do it all.
That's a fact.
That's the start of it, because my voice can only impact so many people. Everybody's not going to resonate with me. So I'm not worried about getting everybody. I'm worried about impacting that one person whose voice can impact somebody else that I couldn't impact for myself. So I lead by example. I lead by education about the right ways to go about doing things. And that one person that's in that community of everybody else that's saying, man, you can't do that. One person in that community is going to be like, I can do that. And they're going to start doing it for themselves. Because I have a prime example. When I was first getting started with the rental car business, there was one person from my college who was like, man, I love what you've been doing, man. You really inspired me. I'm about to go get one for myself. And his friend had told me, bro, you crazy. Why you doing that for?
Yeah.
Like, what happened to you being an astronaut, like with engineering and stuff? And after the friend seeing the guy that was like inspired to do it, after he saw him doing it, he like the friend that got on board and said, bro, let me tap in. Hold on a second. You doing it too?
Yeah.
It's not about, so I can't impact everybody. Everybody's not going to resonate with me saying it, but like that should not stop me from continuously portraying my message out there or getting into different communities and sharing it, because it's going to be one person that takes it and they'll be able to impact somebody that you couldn't do.
You don't have to convince your target audience. You know, one thing I talk about in this show
exactly.
is, you know, my target audience is the 1% of the 1%.
Yep.
Right. You know, whenever you think about wealth, it's like, oh, the 1% controls all the wealth. Within the Black community, it's the 1% of the 1%. So, like, yeah, think about that. I mean, come on, man.
That's real.
Like, keep it real.
That's
right?
real.
So when you just do the simple numbers, like there's 350 million people in the United States.
Yep.
1% of that is 3.15 million. 1% of that is 35,000. If I can get 35,000 people to buy into what I'm selling, pay me $9 a month, you know what I'm saying, or $10 a month. I mean, that's a nice little fee, right?
Yep.
Or if I get them to pay me $15 a month, $17 a month, it's something like a $7 million a year amount that you'll make. But what happens is too often is that one thing that I struggle with, and I'll be transparent here, is that I would go to the top of the roof and the mountain and I would scream, everybody, you need to change. Like, you don't see this shit. And then people were like, fuck this nigga thing. Right? And so I had to switch up my approach a little bit. Like, I still think that Black men as a whole, we got to step it up a little bit more, specifically as it relates to getting our money right. Because, you know, like right now as we're doing this interview, do you watch Snowfall?
I haven't, no.
I've never watched an episode of Snowfall. I stopped watching BMF. Like, I'm not watching anything else that portrays selling dope.
That's real.
Ever again. Mm-hmm. Why? Like, I wrote a book literally called Real Dope, and it compares real estate to the dope game so people can get out the game. Like, at what point in the game do we stop perpetuating the same bullshit? Yep. But there's these memes going around about this, you know, like all week long, all you see is people talking about this guy named Franklin, you know, from the show Snowfall, how he had all this money and he fell off. And I'm thinking to myself, man, we know more about Franklin than we know about our own situation.
That's real. That's why I stopped watching a lot of stuff after
sports.
that.
All the sports that's going on right now. Like, we know more about these motherfucking sports statistics than we know about our own credit score. It's like at some point in the game, Black men specifically, you're my target audience. Yeah. Like, what the fuck? Like, at some point, we're going to have to say, let's just take a year off from this shit. Let's just take a year off. Not forever. Let's just take 365 days off and not watch anything, not buy into anything. Just start building and sowing into your future, because literally that'll change your life forever. But motherfuckers more concerned about when
you go
I can say that. Right. I'm from Dallas.
When you go into the barbershops, what's the conversation about?
Fuck.
It's always gonna be around something sports related. It's always gonna be around LeBron. It's gonna be around the Cowboys, like you say. It's gonna be around something that's not pertaining to growth of that individual. Like, they're always talking about somebody else's success. That's where when I realized that, I said, I'm shutting down all the media. I don't care about I want to celebrate somebody else's success right now. I haven't even built nothing for myself to be celebrating about me. So until I can celebrate me a little bit more, I'm not going to keep celebrating everybody else and watching everybody else succeed. And I'm still living a mediocre life.
That's a bar. But we've been also conditioned to say that that's selfish. It's not selfish if a celebrity says it, but if someone like me and you says it, it's selfish. Like, oh man, what I get accused of, like, oh, you talking down. Like, what the fuck do you mean I'm talking down? Like, I see a problem. I see a solution. I'm giving you the solution, but you're still complaining about the problem.
I'm not going to, I'm not worried about everybody else thinking about that, but until I'm at the place where I need to be, I'm not, because I know that my plan is to give back anyway. I can't give back nothing when I don't have anything.
Bruh,
that's nothing to give. I don't have anything to give. So, like, by me building up myself first, I'll be able to now impact other people to get rid of this entire cycle that we've been going through. But until I work on myself, I can't get to that point, and I won't be able to impact anybody in any way.
In the event of loss of cabin pressure, secure your mask before assisting others. I've flown.
Exactly.
I've flown well over 200, 300. I've flown the airplanes. I can't tell you how many times I've flown, because I used to travel as a trainer, and now I do my own shit. In the event of loss of cabin pressure.
Yeah, they finna hire you at this point. Bro, you quoting that.
I haven't paid for an airplane ticket this year. That's how many miles I've accumulated.
Wow.
Like, I'm on a 10 city speaking tour. I haven't bought one ticket.
That's
yet.
Dope.
But I'm telling you this to say this, bro. Like, what you said is real. Like, you gotta take care of yourself. You have to take a step back from giving a fuck about what everyone else is focused on, and you have to say, what's up with my situation? And what happens is, a lot of times, fellas, that 35,000, I'll post something, and I'm really cynical, Marlon. If you haven't figured that out yet, I'm an extremely cynical person. That's why people fuck with me though, because it's like
that's that polarizing mentality right there,
bro. I say a lot of stuff that people want to say, but they don't know how to say it, or they don't really want the backlash. And I could care less about the backlash, because my thing is, you can't fire me, like you can't cancel me. So like, there's not a single tenant who's gonna see something I posted online and put in a 60-day notice not to renew their lease. Like, I'm not trying to be funny. So but I'm saying this, like, at some point in the game, we're gonna have to look at our situation and stop celebrating losses. Like, everywhere I go on social media, everybody's fucking celebrating. Like, and I know I sound like an old dude wagging my finger, but it's like, the game is about to get super tight. Artificial intelligence is about to change this game. Like, the minimum wage going up means that everything else is going to go up. Like, stuff is about to really change. And y'all out there celebrating, and you don't have no harvest. And the reason I know you don't have any harvest is when I come to you directly, like in your inbox, or I call you and say, hey, here's this property over here, man. Let's go in on it together. I'll put up 25. You put up 25,000. Let's do it. Like, oh man, you know, I ain't got it, but you got it for them trips to Mexico. You got it for everything else. And then what happens is people living on debt. At some point in the game, y'all, we're gonna have to start reeling back and focusing on our priorities, and stop trying to be someone that everyone wants to be.
Right.
If that makes any sense. Like, am I babbling right now? You can tell me if I'm rambling right now, bro.
That's real, man, because a lot of times people are trying to live the lifestyle without having to put in the work in order to be able to afford it. So that was the thing I remember saying this years ago, talking about income creep. As soon as you get into the real world, from leaving from college into the real world, your first thought is, it's time for me to start taking care of myself, and not in regards to financially, but in regards to like the stuff I have been able to do. If they feel like they've been delaying gratification those 4 years of college, so now the lifestyle increases way faster than the actual income is increasing, bro. And so now it's just a perpetual cycle of I'm making money to pay bills, bro. But I'm still trying to live my life and go celebrate, like you said. But I haven't worked on the actual root of the problem, so now I just get into a deeper hole over time. The celebration
never stops. There's never gonna not be something to spend your money on.
Exactly.
You know what I'm telling you? Like,
that's real.
Like, I'll never forget when I started like decreasing. I came up with this theory. It's called increase by decrease, where essentially, like, I knew I wanted to buy real estate. I knew I wanted to do a bunch of shit, but I just didn't have the money because I was in a bunch of debt. So the first thought of mine was go get a second job. But I used to read a lot. I still read, but not as much as I used to. And one thing I learned in real estate is that you should never exchange your time for dollars. Or, you know, the exchange of money is time for dollars. So if you feel like I only can make this money by working, then you need to shift your mindset, because there's a system out there that can work for you. And so I was like, all right, Tim, where can I find this much money a month? And I literally went through my expenses and was like, fuck, I'm spending $900 a month eating out. And I'm not even eating like fancy. I'm going to Whataburger 3 times. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm paying $275 a month on cable. Why? Like, there ain't that much TV in the world to watch. Like, I have a brand new Lexus. I'm paying $675. I had a great interest rate, but I was paying $675 a month plus another $175 on insurance. Like, why? Like, so then I just started decreasing my life. I refinanced my house, dropped my mortgage down like $350, and then rented it out, and then charged what I was already paying before. So it was like a $700 swing. Yeah. Sold my car. Went to a CarMax, literally sold my Lexus. It was a deficiency balance. I got a personal loan, paid that off in 6 months. Cut my cable off. I moved back home for like a month or two. Then I found a roommate. Like, it became a game at that point. And then I was like, I had like an extra $2,000-$3,000 a month that I could apply towards my business now. And the game changed. But man, I'll never forget like having to get rid of that car. I was so attached to that car. That was like, I ain't gonna say it was my identity, but you know, it felt good to pull up in a nice car. But it's like, wait a minute, it's just a car, bro. When I start renting out properties, I'll never forget, I would pull up in this old Camry with like 3 different color blacks. And my tenant was pulling up in a brand new Mercedes. And I'm like, people would think that he would own the property. Yep. And that's how wealth is.
There's 2 words that I got from that. For one, it's awareness. You have to first become aware of your situation and realize that this is not like your best self. Like, there's way more that you can aspire for besides like living this life of like a pseudo got it made type of mentality, like where everybody from the outside looking in thinks that you figured it all out, but internally, like, you see that this debt's piling up, like everything is not working against me. Then the second thing is ownership. Ownership, saying that this may be my situation right now, but now I'm about to start making moves that's going to actually change my entire situation altogether. Reducing the bills, like cutting out the cable, reducing, cutting out that car, even though I may have an attachment to it. Like I'm gonna get something way better because of what I'm about to do to set myself up to be able to not even have to work. I can just drop the entire whatever the amount is to buy the car outright. Just buy that. I ain't got to finance it no more.
Literally bought the same model car last year, and a rental property's paying for it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's
asset paying for liabilities. I can get an asset to pay for it now. Just do it like Rich Dad Poor Dad. We talked about that. But buy assets first that pay for the liabilities. I can buy whatever I want after I have something to pay for it. Not me and my time paying for it.
It's a fact, bro. That's a fact. And it's like we think we're going to lose out. Like the delayed gratification is a real big thing. I'm trying to teach my son that concept. Like just delay your gratification. You'll get whatever you want if you can just wait a little bit longer. And I think that the life that we live in now, the society's like, get it how you live. You only live once. Like if you got it, spend it, it's mine. Like, it's like, no, that's not how it works. Because then when you on your ass, it's like I can sit back and count every penny that I've ever spent frivolously, man. Like now,
that's
it's
real.
like, shit, like, I can't believe I spent that much money at the club. I can't believe I spent that much money for this. But I'm more aware of it now. At the time, it was just swipe.
The awareness
I get paid on the 15th. I'll just pay it off. It's like, man, that's not an investment. But man, let's talk about what you're doing now, man. We can talk about this forever. Like, what's your primary line of business now? Like, I see you online talking about the rental car space. Like, I know during the pandemic that was a huge thing, specifically with the courses. But like, how's that working for you right now?
So no, that's going really well. So our main goal, even from I wouldn't say from the very beginning, but like once we took this seriously, main goal has been to make this into a sellable business model, where we take our rental cars, but not just operating on Turo, but more so learning how to navigate into the space where we take control over our entire business operation, like where there's no platform that can control like our entire situation. Like there's nothing that can happen where, let's say like Airbnb go out of business. Now, everybody who has a rental property that's been doing, and not even rental property, that's like doing short-term rentals through Airbnb. If Airbnb was to go down, what happens next? Like, do you still have your business? So our goal has been to create a business model where we can operate independently of Turo altogether.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but Turo has been really good though, at the same time as far as building up the foundation. So that's why I do recommend that people get started there, because now it's like a safety net in a way where they can actually show you how to rent out the car, like how to have great customer service, how to present a good product. Yeah. But then taking the next step is about like figuring out how to do the things that Turo is doing, such as managing claims, such as driver vetting, such as just things like that in regards to actually working directly with the renter as opposed to working just through the platform on Turo.
That's interesting. So you guys like starting to create your own app and stuff like that?
So not an app, but we have a website now. Okay. So we have a website. We do have business cards. We actually advertise. We actually go to different local shops around the area and just continue to advertise our business that way.
Like auto shops, like auto body shops?
Yep. So auto body shops. We actually been to hotels before. Also like, what are they called? Lawyers' offices, things like that, just to continue to advertise our business around that way.
That's a play. I think a lot of people sleep on the attorneys. I was talking to somebody that was really big in the wholesale. Mm-hmm. And, they did pretty well for themselves. I'm not going to lie. And I was like, have you ever considered marketing to attorneys? He was like, what do you mean? I said, when I grew and scaled my real estate business, I started to run my business like a law firm. I actually had an in-house attorney rent space for me at my office. And from that specific, encounter, I start going to all these events with these attorneys and I start learning how they play the game. Like when you think about, we're in Texas, everybody knows who Jim Adler is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hammer, right?
Texas Hammer.
The Texas Hammer, right?
Go.
Like, you look at some of the cheesy commercials, those are attorneys, those are accident injury. Well, what did I get from that? I got from that these people have a plethora of clients who need service. Yep. So in my line of work in real estate, who should I reach out to? Well, I should reach out to a trust attorney. I should reach out to divorce attorneys. I should reach out to probate attorneys and say, hey, do you have a person that needs to sell a property fast? Do you need an agent who can be appointed to a case? Because he doesn't want to pick an agent and she doesn't want to pick an agent, so maybe a third party can pick it. Do you have someone that if it's a probate, they have to get the property sold, like maybe a wholesaler can come in. And this dude, it blew his mind that I've never in a million years thought to reach out to real estate attorneys, specifically the ones that deal with probates and deal with divorces, because these are people who need to sell their properties ASAP.
Right, exactly.
And they don't want people in their business. And man, he hit me back. He was like, bro, that was the play of all plays. So like you even saying, Like you're going to attorneys, like those accident injury attorneys, like people need cars. They need to rent a car for a long term in many cases until they buy a car.
That is the key with it all.
A lot of people don't think about that, man. Like that's so innovative that you even said that.
Yeah, so like everything that's the root question that you have to ask when you're starting to move into the independent space is trying to figure out who needs a car, and especially for like long-term vehicles, like long-term rentals, who needs a vehicle long-term. And so like I was even used like the body shop as another example, because you talked a lot about the attorney space. Even with the body shops, these people have gotten to an accident or somebody hit them, and so now how they gonna get from point A to point B? How they gonna get to work every single day? And like this is a question that they have to figure out like right now. So they need a car today, and they may have it for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks while their car is being repaired.
Insurance pays for that too,
and insurance is paying for it too. So yeah, so that helps out for them quite a bit. But and that also guarantees us to get paid as well.
It guarantees you, man. And it's like at the end of that settlement, it's like they're gonna get a settlement. Yep. And all the bills have to be paid first. So now you're billing whoever. Like, hey, this person did this. Here's the bill. Attorney's going to take all that stuff off the top, take their 33% off the top or whatever their fee is, and then they're going to cut the check. Yep. And it's more advantageous for them to get as much money as they possibly can on the front end, so they can keep more on the back end. But it's like most people say, you can do that. Like, yeah, you can do that, man. Like, you can literally do whatever you want to. You just gotta try it.
Right. So that's been our main thing, is really navigating into that space now. So like we still have operation on Turo, but at the same time we're looking to really start diving deeper into that independent operation, and that's why we continue to go. Like actually, I was at a show. I was asking you about you being in Vegas. Yeah, I was in Vegas too, like last weekend. There's a show that we went to called the International Car Rental Show. It's like independent operators from all across the globe coming in and meeting together to really like learn how to refine their operation. And so basically, it's like a whole nother level than what Turo is, like, or like just operating on Turo versus like taking the next step.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, because I often tell people, if something is mainstream, that's just the tip of the iceberg. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
like,
that's real.
Like, it's literally just the tip of the iceberg. Like, that's what the consumer gets. But behind the scenes, there's so many different layers to it. You're just getting a refined product that's turnkey.
Yep.
But the people that are really making the money are the people that are behind the scenes, that are really controlling that operation. So, you know, and you have some interesting stories, man. Like, I saw the story you said that went super viral. Like, talk about that, man. Like, you know, and this is, again, you all, this is a part of the game. This is part of the business. Every transaction doesn't happen like this. You've been doing Turo, at least I know.
I was about to get into that too, for sure. So first off, we've had over 1,500 trips on the platform altogether. Like, we've had 1,500 trips since we started the renting out cars. So this is definitely a one-off. But the one thing I like to do with my platform that other people don't do is that they don't show the things that you actually have to deal with. They only show all the glitz and the glamour. They only show the good, everything that's good about it. I try to show you things that may happen or that have happened for us, but how we navigate it more so. Like, that's the most important piece for me. It's like, when these things come up, how do you be prepared for them? So that's all of my stories that you see, all of the different examples I show. They always have a solution behind it, because that's our main thing, is that when these things come up, my thing is systems. Like, having a good system in place allows you to navigate these situations. So I'll talk about the story for a second. So this is a couple months back in February. We get a renter that says that they want to book our car offline with us. They want to book directly. They want to book it for 2 days. It's Wednesday through Friday. They we say, okay, that we give them the car and everything. This is where we learn about driver vetting, that how important that is. Like, we kind of are building up our system from there. We had them send a picture of their driver's license to us. We verified everything, or verified their insurance, actually. Call their insurance and make sure they have it. And they come and pick up the car. We do like a remote check-in where they just where they pick up the car remotely. We have systems in place to have that done too. Pick up the car, they leave. On Thursday night, they ask, can they extend 2 more days? Because they're due back on Friday. They want to extend 2 more days. The problem is that they never paid us for the extension. So we sent the request, but they never actually paid it. So, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, where's our payment at? On Friday night, I pretty much say, okay, we're shutting down the car. I'm thinking to myself, we're shutting down the car because we can't collect payment from them. So when I say shut down the car, I just thought about that. We have GPS trackers in all of our cars, meaning that we can see where the car is located at, and we can shut it down or disable it if it's in harm's way, or if we want to if it needs to be shut down for any reason, such as this. So on Friday night, we shut it down. On Saturday morning, I'm expecting a phone call from the lady to say, hey, the car's not starting or something like that. Problem is that she never calls. I'm like, that's weird. Usually we get a call. So I call her up and she's not answering the phone and saying that she's like in meetings the whole day or something. So Saturday afternoon comes around and I'm like, yo, we need to like get some answers. Like, where's our payment at? She doesn't say anything. Like she's pretty much stopped responding to us. So I stopped responding too. And I say on Sunday, we're going to get the car back because it's like in North Houston. I'm in like mid South Houston. And I said, we're going to get the car back. So me and my cousin, we actually drive up there on Sunday afternoon. And we see that the car is in this driveway and we see that the tire's off. And so that means now we can't take it and just run with it. Now we got to figure out like what's going on with the car. I pull around a second time, just scoping out the neighborhood. It seems pretty nice. It's not terrible. But I see this lady that's in the garage. It's like an elderly lady. It's like a Hispanic elderly lady. And she doesn't look like the person I've been talking to. Like the person I've been talking to has like just a different tone of voice. I'm like, this ain't that lady. So I will walk up and talk to her and say, hey, ma'am, this car is actually overdue for its rental payment. I don't know if you know the lady that's been renting it, but we're trying to collect payment from her and she hasn't responded to us. And this lady, the older lady, gives me the blankest stare and just is like, are you serious? And I'm like, yes. Do you know this lady that we're talking about that's renting the car from us? She's like, yes. She's the person who sold me this car. So
damn.
I'm
the
like,
person that sold me this car. They done sold your car.
So I'm like, wow. This is this is like I said, 1,500 trips. We never had this happen before. So now I'm like, okay, so first I need to verify this. I'm like, because I kind of don't believe it at first. I'm like, I feel like you might be an accomplice. So I said, like, how she sell it to you? She said through Craigslist. I'm like, do you have the listing? She pulled up the listing. She showed it to me. I was like, okay, now I believe it. But it was listed for $20,000. A Chevy Suburban. This is a 2019 Chevy Suburban worth $60,000.
And she gave her $20,000.
She gave her 18. She negotiated it down to 18,000 that she ended up paying her for. And the lady that I was talking to, she said that she had borrowed it from a friend. She borrowed the 18,000.
How did she pay her? Cash?
Cash payment. And what we found out later is that the lady that rented from us made a fake title and bill of sale to sell her the car. She took it so our tracker. I tracked everything. We were able to see. She took it to auto sales shop that was in Houston. And she was able to get the title made over there. But we tracked all her movements, and we had security cameras at our location, so we were able to see like who the person is and pretty much share that with the police as well.
Damn.
And so I think she ended up going to jail a couple months later, like a couple weeks later. But because she was doing the same thing again with somebody else's car.
And they caught her.
Yes. So, but this is like a whole group though.
Have a detective called you and like, hey man, we want you to come and talk based on that.
No, so they haven't called, like no detective or anything like that. But we pretty much got that case closed out after about a month of waiting for them to like get everything settled. And like we went on to like a small claims court for like maybe 10 minutes in total. Like 9 of them was waiting for the judge to come in. 1 minute was him actually saying, okay, whose car is this? Asking
so
the
it happens to a bunch of people.
No, so I mean, it's happened to a bunch of people in general. But I was talking about like the judge when he came in, because it was on a Zoom call. He finally came on to the call. It was me, the older lady that I was talking to, and then the investigator. So the judge asked the investigator, whose car does this belong to? Whose car does this belong to that's like for this case? He said it belongs to Marlon Walls over there. He's like, all right, case closed. Marlon, come get the car later on.
So they kept your car?
No, so the
I'm talking about in between the time you went to court, they kept your car?
Yeah, so about maybe 3 to 4 weeks, they had kept it just for investigation purposes.
Police did?
Yeah.
What?
Yep. So that's what the story actually was older than what I posted. I posted it after everything was over with. But yeah, so that whole process, that's what we had to go through during that time frame.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Y'all better, y'all better stop falling for stuff. Like, I'll be honest with you. I tell my friends and family, like, don't buy stuff like that off of social media. A friend of mine he got hit through, I think it was, what do you call it? eBay Motors. Mm-hmm. Really? Someone did a scam like that on him.
Yep.
Where they sold him a car. It was like and what stands out the most is that these cars are hella new. And they're like half off, like red flag. And he sent somebody like $10,000 for like a Nissan Maxima that was maybe 2 or 3 years older. The person's like, yeah, I got to leave and move overseas and I just got to sell it. And at this point, I'm good. And he sent them the money, the money. And He never got that money back. And eBay Motors is like, there's nothing we can do about it.
They don't give you that money back.
This is a civil issue, right?
Right.
And that was a well-known scheme. It's like, y'all, stop clicking links. Stop trying to, in life, like, stop trying to take a shortcut. Like, if it seems too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Like, you live in Houston, like, you're not going to find a Chevy Suburban in Houston for $20,000. Like, if you know anything about trucks, like, trucks keep their value more than cars.
Most definitely.
So, like, when I went to go buy my truck years ago, I'll never forget when I bought my truck. It was like a $45,000. After all the upgrades, it was almost $50,000. But the used model of the same truck was like $42,000.
Yeah, it's not going down.
It ain't going down because it's a work truck. You know what I'm saying? Like, or they see it as a work truck, even though mine has all the bells and whistles and stuff. Like, stop looking for shortcuts, y'all. But damn, that's a sad story. I feel bad for the lady because she's an older lady and she kind of, got taken advantage of, and that's it, Yeah,
I can't do anything for the lady. I wish we could do more for her. But my whole lesson in all of this, though, was number one, just having systems in place for when things happen. It's not about if but when, because that tracker, that saved the entire operation. Like that made it so much easier to go and get that car because we knew exactly where it was at.
Didn't y'all have 2 GPSs and they took one of them off?
So that was a whole nother story.
Yeah. Okay.
You think about the story.
We ain't got time for that.
Right. How many stories you want?
Marlon has some of the best stories, but again, this is like 1% of his rentals.
Right.
So what he's doing is he's sharing with you guys that 1% of shit that goes bad. But
this is the 1% of stories is the reason that you have the systems in place. I don't have the systems in place for the 99% of the things that happen. The 99% is just usually just a great rental. Like, okay, starts, ends, great, you got paid. But the 1% of stuff, that's why you put systems in place so that way now you are prepared and you can navigate it easy when it does happen. I don't have a GPS tracker in there just to track people around, just to watch where they're going. Like, it's for these one-off situations.
Yeah. All right, so this is how we're going to end the show. We always end every show the same way. One of my favorite movies is Back to the Future, specifically Part 2.
Yeah.
And so in the movie Biff, one of the main characters, he goes from the future back to the future to give himself a sports almanac so he can have all the scores to every game between the 50s until I think it was 2015 or so. And so he saw himself, he was like, hey, I'm you from the future, dummy. Take this book, thank me later. He gets back into the DeLorean, he flies back to the future, and he's like a trillionaire. All right. And so then of course he was an evil person, they had to go back to the future, change, yada yada. But if you could have a Back to the Future moment where you can go back 10 years from now, you're not that old anyway, but let's just say you can go back to your senior year in high school or your first freshman year of college. You see yourself walking down a lonely hall. It's just you and young you. You're all happy. You know how you walk on your tiptoes, excited. And you guys connect eyes. There's a bit of familiarity. And the person's like, I know you from somewhere. Like, hey, I'm you from the future. What would you tell yourself?
Man, I was sitting here thinking about it. There's so many things. Oh my goodness!
There's no wrong answers.
I know
I had somebody on one of the shows say, "Pull out." I'll pull out, man. That's what I would do.
I'm grateful I ain't got that answer right now.
Like, there's no wrong answers. We're not gonna judge you, bro. I've had judges come on the show. I've had politicians. I've had entertainers, or not entertainers, but like people that have done really well for themselves. Like, there's no wrong answer, bro.
I'm gonna say bet on you.
Yeah,
that'll probably be it, man. Because there's so many different ways I got to put it, but bet on you. Believe in what you have to offer to the world. Like, I actually heard something a couple of days ago. Know the value that you bring. That's like serious. So like understanding your own value. That's gonna dictate how you walk throughout life. That's gonna you're gonna yield a whole another level of confidence because you're comfortable in you and who you are. And so you'll be able to carry that no matter what room you walk into.
That's a fact. I respect that a lot, man. Well, listen, Marlon, man, I want to tell you, man, I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm a real funny person. I'm kind of fickle. A lot of people either fuck with me or they don't. There's no in between.
Like I said, you polarize it, man. It's gonna be a love-hate thing.
It's gonna be love-hate, and I've learned in my life to embrace that because I'm not gonna bullshit people, man. But one thing I do in this social media space is when I meet somebody, I sit back and I watch them.
Yeah.
Before I interact with them, I just watch them and see how they're moving. And I'll say I've known you for 3 years now. For the last 3 years, man, you have been a consistent, well-oiled machine. Like, I get your emails. Yeah. I think I have your posts to where I can see your posts when they come on, like in my favorites.
Yeah.
Like, you're just super consistent. You have a bit of, it's like you have this blind faith, this blind belief, like, you don't care how stupid it looks. You don't care how people feel about it. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to be vulnerable. Like, you're not trying to impress anybody. It is what it is. You get what you get. This is me. If you show up tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I'm going to be the same person.
Yeah, basically.
And that level of authenticity is so well needed right now because everything is fake. And as a person who's been around in circles with people who really are making money or who are really broke, like I see it and I understand. Like I can't say anything, because then it makes me like a hater. So I just kind of keep it to myself. But I see so many people out there on social media bullshitting niggas all day, like just giving them this bullshit, like, and it's like you just give them enough time and they'll reveal who they are. But over 3 years, man, I have not seen no fuck shit with you, man, because you are genuinely who you are. You have a good, solid foundation. I love the fact that you and your dad are in business together, like that right there. That really sold me on you. I came to one of you guys' lives. It was like you and your dad was doing live. I was like, I can fuck with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Because me and my son. I take my son was in Vegas with me.
That's dope, man. I love that.
When I fly and speak, he comes with me. If I go on 4 trips, he's gonna at least come to 1 or 2. And if it's a local trip, he's gonna be there 100% of the time. But I respect you guys. I respect what you're doing. I respect what you and your business partner are doing. Like, keep your foot on these people's neck. Keep providing the alternative to what we normally see, because this thing that we call culture is so muddied right now. It's not really focused on creating a foundation that's sustainable that you can hand down. And I always tell people generational wealth is not financial. It's a mindset.
Most definitely, man.
It's a mindset. Like, I can give you all the money in the world, but if your mind isn't ready to receive or to do the right thing with it, then you're just gonna be broke.
We talked about it anyway with the NFL players, also NBA players, or even lottery winners. We said that earlier. Just talking about you can give somebody money, you give a fool money, but it's gonna soon part ways.
It will soon part ways. But on that note, you guys, this is your man Tim Jackson with the No More OGs podcast. Do me a favor. Where can they find you, man? I'm about to end the show. I ain't telling you where they find you at. Where can they find you, bro?
Yeah, you can find me on social media at Deuce Walls. That's on TikTok, Instagram, or you can, if you want to actually get into our program and learn more about how to get into the rental car space, starting with Turo, you can go to theturoformula.com, and then we can actually bring you into our program so you can actually learn from us. We meet every Monday. Also, we have a Facebook group it's called Rebus Crew, where we continue to just pour value into you through our community.
There it is, you guys. And I'm going to also have all his information posted below. So click the links below. If you're listening to this on any other format, it should be in the show notes. Again, it's your man, Tim Jackson with the No More OGs podcast. Like, follow, subscribe, share at No More OGs. Also, guys, get tapped in with the $9 Academy. You keep saying that you need a resolution. What the Aaliyah song said, I need a resolution. I got so much confusion. Well, y'all, I'm giving y'all the game for $9. Like, at this point in the game, it's on you. And I keep telling y'all, like, one day y'all gonna wake up and I'm gonna be gone. I'm gonna be disappeared. I'm gonna be living on my 100+ acre ranch, fishing and hunting and, herding cows and taking care of chickens, y'all. But I'm putting all this stuff out there right now because I don't want anyone to have any excuses. So if you have an excuse, that excuse is on you. It's not on me. But I'm going to give you the information that you need. I'm going to bring on people like Marlon. If I'm not your flavor, somebody who sits in these chairs next to me will be your flavor. Pick your flavor and consume it until you can't consume it anymore. That's all I got for you. It's your man Tim Jackson with the No More OGs podcast. I'll see you soon.